Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Wednesday edition of the broadcast, June 27th into Thursday, June 28th, 2012. We thank you for being with us here tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We're going to be getting into various amount of insane news stories for you here tonight on the show, as well as our continued series of reading. I got a letter yesterday in the mail from a lady who said she's an older lady and she can't sit up at her desk for long periods of time to listen to the show. I wanted to know if I would make some of my book readings available on hard format disc stuff. Well, the problem with that is that if I did do that, it would cost so much money to produce them that I'd have to charge $50 or $60 or something for it. Because, Lost Book Inky is like 13 hours. A standard CD will hold 74 minutes. So you're looking at Lost Book Inky, you're looking at probably 12, 13 discs that I'm either going to have to pay to have manufactured and have them manufactured individually, which 12 or 13 discs, that'll run you some cash, or I'm going to have to burn them myself and make the things myself, and that's going to take time and that I don't have. So I've come up with a solution for this, and I'm gonna make a button and have it up there for sale. And I really prefer if you don't need this to not buy it. I'm afraid if I put it up, which I guess is okay. It's whatever. I'll sell as many as you want me to, but I was going to make this for people who, want to listen to the audiobooks and stuff and want to listen to them not at their computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a button where you can buy a special Global Reality MP3 player, and that'll come loaded with some of the audiobooks, Lost Book Inky, and I'll try to fit as many as I can on there, Emerald Tablets of Thoth, all that stuff. And I'll put that up there. And then what you can do is you can buy that from us, and that'll help out our cause. And it'll come loaded with all these different books. And as new ones come out, you have a computer already anyway because you're listening that way. You can plug that into your computer and download more episodes or episodes of the show and move stuff around. Once you get the books on there and stuff. So. Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll have that up. It's not going to be very expensive. It'll be, I don't know, $40 or $50, something like that, plus shipping. But it'll come preloaded with all these Global Reality audiobooks that I've read here on the show. And so for people who, who don't have the ability to be able to sit at their desk and listen or want to listen to it, but again, you can always download those audiobooks yourself and put on an MP3 player yourself, man. But either way, there's people that ask for that, so we'll try to do something like that here in the future. I'll just put it up there, and if somebody orders one, I'll get the MP3 player and put the stuff on there and box it up, and send it to you. So I just thought that might be a cool idea. Also, maybe get some more funds in here. We are having our fundraising week this week. We now have $800 left to go on our fundraising after getting a couple of donations. Thanks to those people out there. A couple of people that we got a little bit of help in today. We thank you for that. Got a couple of more entries into the Global Reality All-Stars for the week for the drawing. 2 drawings are going to be going on Friday night on the Friday night show here. And we have been having a Friday night show regularly lately. If you haven't been tuning in on Friday nights, be sure and check that out as well. The following next Friday night, though, I won't be here because that's my birthday, and I'm not going to do a show that night. I'm going to, do what I want to do. But, so we have $800 to go on our operating costs. We need to have that in no later than Friday. And also, if you want to get entered into the Global Reality All-Stars drawing on Friday, you need to have your donations in no later than tomorrow. So no later than tomorrow. If you absolutely positively can't get it there overnight and you are waiting for your paycheck on Friday, you can just send your donation and send a note in there and say, hey, I still want to get in on the drawing, even though I wasn't able to contribute until today. And that will be fine. But for everybody else, we got to have that in by no later than tomorrow. Anytime tomorrow. Could be evening, daytime, doesn't matter when. Thursday, I mean. That's what I mean by tomorrow is Thursday. So no later than Thursday. Anytime Thursday, morning, noon, or night. And then Friday night we'll have the drawing. So we have $800 left to go. That's 8 people can donate $100. 16 people can donate $50. Please help us and let's get it done so we can move on and continue to push forward and get the work done. And I've got to, I have no budget for this film. I hadn't been griping about it. I've just been rolling with the punches and trying not to get down about it. But right now, my concern is that we have to get the operating costs so we can continue to do this and I can continue to work. So thank you to everybody out there who continues to help us, and please help us out and help us meet this goal and get it done. I have an email here tonight that came in, and I've said this many times. My email is globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. And anytime you can send emails there, and I'm happy to get them. I'm happy to answer questions for you on the show and hear what you have to say and all that. So this gentleman here, Rick, not our usual Rick in San Diego, but a different Rick, he kind of starts this email saying, sorry to bother you. No, it's great. I mean, as long as you're talking about information and stuff that's relevant, yeah, I don't care how many. You can send me emails. It says, I hope this is Josh. Yes, realityshow@gmail.com is me. I know you're busy, may not even read this. I'll be quick. Something is up with this zombie shit, man. When I look up all the initial reports, they claim it was a bad strain of LSD. And there were several other incidents like that related to the bad LSD, not bath salts. Yeah, I remember reading that initial report, too. It said some new form of super high-powered LSD. And anytime anything deals with LSD, it always traces back to the government. And see, that's the problem, is because you get people who literally get approached at parties, a.k.a. raves, places like that. You say a party, but it's really that's code for rave. But they don't call them that anymore. But you know what I mean. And so these things are littered with people who look, they look the part. They got the glow sticks, they got the Vicks Vapo Rub, they look the part, candy kids, and they'll come up to you and they'll say stuff like, "Hey man, here, take this, take this stuff, man. It's acid. Here, take like 100 hits of it, Take some of this stuff, take it yourself, hand it out to your friends, Here's my card, man. Give me a call if you and your friends like it, then give me a call, and then boom, there you go. This person does it, takes some, hands it out to his friends. This guy has no idea that he just distributed 100 hits of LSD, probably for the Central Intelligence Agency. And what happens if he gets busted and he has those hits on him? Well, he goes down and he's the one that has to pay the cost of the jail time or whatever it may be. But meanwhile, the guy who handed this stuff to him and said, here, hand this out to your friends, and puts the pressure on him, this guy just, goes on unabated and he's never to be seen or heard from again. Probably wasn't a real person in the first place. So it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, there's been some kind of new high-powered government-grade LSD going around. Maybe they're trying to fix what they didn't get done last time. The quote from John Lennon the week before he was shot in Playboy magazine saying, ha, 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 people should go read about how the government and the army made LSD to control our minds, but little do they know they set us free and the joke's on them. Maybe they have now created some sort of new LSD that fixes those flaws in the mind control department. And maybe they are distributing this in that same old-fashioned way, All it takes is one person with one, local pot distributor gives 1,000 hits to here, man, pass this out to your clients. All right, boom, there you go, it's done. You can distribute it. You can distribute that shit all over the place in no time. And now I read on Yahoo News that only marijuana was found in the Florida face eater system. I'm not totally on board with the government conspiracy just yet, but keep in mind, number one, they didn't find any bath salts or any other drugs in his system, but LSD can't be found unless they did a spinal tap. And two, we all know, well, they could do hair follicle testing as well. We all know that government has been deeply involved with LSD. I don't know what to think of all this, but I wanted to tell you about the initial reports of the bad batch of LSD that they totally quit talking about, along with the other previous incidents related to it. And now they aren't finding any drugs in the Florida man system. It really does look like LSD. I don't know. Sorry to bug. Just wanted to throw that out there. Peace. Yeah. We're very well be right, but I don't know. This definitely does seem like it's some sort of test or some sort of, biological weapons test or mind control test. Who knows? But that was my first story I was going to talk about tonight. So, Rudy Eugene, the Causeway cannibal who ate the face of a homeless man he attacked along the MacArthur Causeway, was apparently not high on bath salts or any other exotic street drug at the time of the attack, according to a report released Wednesday by the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner. The news leaves law enforcement officials wondering what drove Eugene to strip off his clothes, attack homeless man Ronald Popo, and chew off pieces of flesh from his face. Speculation about the cause of Eugene's rampage on Popo's face centered on drugs, especially bath salts, after police union officials claimed an increase in bizarre behavior among people on the street using such drugs. The much-anticipated toxicology report released by Miami-Dade Medical Examiner Dr. Bruce Haima found marijuana in Eugene's system, something CBS 4 News had previously reported, but no evidence of any other street drugs, alcohol, or prescription drugs or adulterants found in the street drugs. Well, so the report said this includes cocaine, LSD, methamphetamines, ecstasy, meth, and others. They're saying they didn't find LSD at all. But if it's some sort of new high-powered LSD, that which is very well could be the case, you got to think about it now. They have computer analysis and computer things and algorithms they can run now on these chemicals to make them more refined than they used to be. They can engineer chemically any desired effect that you could ever dream up now, folks. All the way across the board. It's just a fact. And so it stands to reason that all these things they didn't get right about LSD the first time, probably now have been fixed through, years and years since it's been brought out and looked at again. And recently there's been, more government tests that have been allowed with it by the DEA and other sources. So if you look at what they've done with every other drug, what have they done? They've made it more potent. Marijuana potencies have increased over the past 30, 40 years, 100,000-fold. Where's that coming from? Who's doing this? This is not just street dealers and street growers doing this. These are professional medical industrial complex people who are using these technologies for their benefit. So I think it's definitely possible they've engineered some sort of super LSD which fixes the problem of the mind control issues they had before and is giving them more of the desired mind control effect they're looking for, while at the same time possibly even being untraceable. Because that's the main thing. If you're if you were going to use a chemical agent for the use of mind control, regular plain old LSD 25 as we know it would be a bad choice because of the fact that it is traceable, and I believe that it would be in any person's best interest that was going to result to using drugs for mind control to make the plausible deniability factor very high. Meaning the effects that that it has leave no trace, leave no evidence as to what would cause it. Then you have a perfect weapon, don't you? Because then you can dose somebody with some of this stuff, control them how you want to control them, and get them to do things you want them to do, and when they're done and they've reached the desired effect, they get killed or they come down or whatever, and boom, somebody runs tests on them. Free and clear. Nothing. Because really what everybody has come to know as LSD was sort of a, we're talking about, this was synthesized from ergot and all these different things. It's very kind of primitive when it came about, when it was invented, but now with the technologies and the medical technology we have now, and the synthesization processes we have now, folks, there is no reason to believe they haven't created a more perfect LSD, and it would be probably pretty secret, and have created this for the original. They had an intent and purpose the first time around, okay? Now, they did it under the guise of, using it against suspected communists and stuff like that then. Well, they're doing it under the guise of the same thing now. That way they can dose people who are suspected Al-Qaeda or suspected domestic terrorists with this stuff and get a desired effect, and boom, no trace of nothing. Manchurian candidate type stuff, again, no trace. Yeah, and that's definitely what I think is the case here. At the Vatican, Pope Benedict on Monday received the Grand Master of the Order of Malta. The traditional audience took place on the occasion of the feast of the Nativity of St. John the Baptist, the patron of the order. The chief work of the Order of Malta involves humanitarian assistance and medical and social activities. In many countries, the Order's volunteer corps provides social services as well as first aid emergency medical services. Well, you can see pictures of Nazis running around wearing, Maltese crosses all over their uniforms. You can see a picture of Tsar Nicholas standing next to, King George. Talking about a Russian person and a British person here. They look identical because of their bloodline. But one is from Russia and the other's from England. And yet they both have on the Maltese crosses. So I think you see Hitler with these on, Nazis with these on. And here is Pope Benedict, a former Nazi youth, receiving the Grand Master Award. The degree of Grand Master of the Order of Malta. So there you go, just going to seal the deal on that Nazi Pope thing there, Emperor Palpatine. Thank you. Well, it looks like what I've been talking about with this possible October surprise of marijuana legalization, thereby forever. I mean, the hippies are just going to go nuts, dude. But like I said, I said this on the night Obama was elected in 2008. This motherfucker, if he legalizes weed before the election, he could be on the White House lawn eating babies' fucking brains with Bruce Willis, and people wouldn't care. People are like, I don't give a fuck, man. He made weed legal. I don't give a fuck what this brother does now. He can fucking have sex with white women while Michelle watches and tape it and put it on CNN for all I care. Weed is legal. In a sweeping victory for Mayor Rahm Emanuel, the Chicago City Council voted 43 to 3 on Wednesday to decriminalize possession of small amounts of marijuana. Instead of requiring police to make an arrest when they discover someone possessing less than 15 grams of the drug, they have the option of simply issuing a ticket. Arrests are still mandatory for people who use the drug in public. Fines for misdemeanor possession will range from $100 to $500, whereas prior policy placed the fine at around $1,500. Emanuel, former chief of staff to President Barack Obama, said he backed the proposal to free up police for more important work like tracking down violent criminals instead of spending hundreds of hours on misdemeanor arrests. And this is a perfect card for them. Economy's in the shitter. This guy's as fucking war hawkish as Bush was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And boom, drop the motherfucking legal weed thing, dude, and ain't nobody gonna give a fuck. Nobody will give a fuck. A lot of people probably won't give a fuck what I have to say anymore either. Because it'll just be, I don't care what the fuck's going on in the world now. Weed's legal, I can get high. Yeah, have fun smoking that fucking GMO legal shit they're gonna roll out on you. You'll be wishing that shit was illegal again by the time these motherfuckers get done with you. You do realize that, right? Now, decriminalization, that's cool, but man, putting this stuff into the hands of these people that have already pumped us full of poison on all other fronts, you trust them with your weed, that's all you. I mean, it's the same way now. If you're taking a risk no matter what it is, because you don't know unless you know the guy that's fucking growing this shit himself and harvesting it and giving it directly to you, man. You don't know where that shit's coming from. You don't know who grew it with what chemicals or what have you. It's a crapshoot. And they want to make it the same way they make cigarettes now, and they pump the cigarettes full of chemicals. What makes you think they won't pump your fucking legal weed full of chemicals? This just blew me away. It's how long? I mean, how many times can I say it? How many times can I repeat it? But it just, here we are again. It seems that where'd it go? Yeah, it seems that they're rolling out more and more of this alien stuff. I mean, they really are prepping people for something, folks. It's clear now. Nearly 2 in 3 Americans. Now think about this. Yesterday they came out with the thing about the Millennium Falcon thing. Any electronics go out when they go over it now. See, I still think this is some sort of like third-party alien rollout thing. I think it very well could be. Because again, no country in the world wants to look like the dickhead that's been covering it up. You know what I mean? Or no country in the world wants to be the first dickhead to come out and go, okay, all right, all right, it's real or whatever. What they need is something like this, where they find a UFO, a real actual UFO, and they're able to bring it up and say, oh my God, it's an alien ship. And then, it's possible not, then it's like, oh my God, then all the countries in the world, they don't ever have to address the fact that they've covered this shit up for years. All they have to do is say, oh my God, well here, here's the proof, here we go, all right. Because it's going to take one country coming forward if that doesn't happen. But I think there's a distinct possibility that this could be that event. And I'm going to put this out there. I think it's a very distinct possibility as well. This could be something like what was in an episode of the old television show, The X-Files, where this weird craft washes up on shore, and it has all these different, it has like every language ever known to man, and like all these religious texts in every language, even Sumerian, all over the outside of the ship. But so we had that yesterday, and then right on the heels of that today, 2 strange polls. The day after we hear about this strange UFO thing happening there in the Baltic Sea. Two strange polls come out the very next day. Nearly 2 in 3 Americans think President Barack Obama is better suited than Republican rival Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney. Oh, my name is Mitt Romney. Yes, I am from Massachusetts. Yeah, I'm going to run for president, by golly gracious goodness, and I've got my magic Mormon fucking underwear on, too. You bet your sweet ass. Yeah, we're going to kick some liberal butt. That's what we're going to do. We're going to kick some liberal butt. My goodness. If your name is Mitt Romney, you can only come from Massachusetts, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only fucking place you can come from. Or Kennebunkport, fucking Maine, one or the other. Nearly 2 in 3 Americans think President Barack Obama is better suited than Republican rival Mitt Romney to deal with an alien invasion. Well, yeah, I wonder why. How many fucking alien invasion in the world fucking movies have we seen over the past 20 years where the goddamn president's been black anytime the aliens are invading? 5? And it's usually Morgan Freeman. I'm Morgan Freeman. I'm going to save you from the extraterrestrial threat. And then we're going to drive Miss Daisy around after that. I mean, what the fuck? Yeah, I mean, they've been acclimating us to this for a long time, haven't they? I mean, there was even that movie, what was it, Deep Impact or something like that? Or, Will Smith. Welcome to Earth. I mean, so of course, because in most of the alien invasion movies, the president's not a crusty white guy. It's always, or Danny Glover. I'm Danny Glover. I talk real low like this. I was really good in Lethal Weapon with that crazy motherfucking anti-Semite Mel Gibson. That motherfucker is crazy. He does, man. Danny Glover, he's always just like this all the time. I don't know how you get your voice so low and raspy like that and just keep it there. It's very difficult. But I do it because I'm Danny Glover. So Danny Glover saves us from aliens, and fuck, half of us get wiped out, but he goes down with the ship, right? Well, that was 2012. See, I can't even tell which ones are which. There's been so many. But they still haven't had one yet where Samuel L. Jackson is the president, because that would be just the best. If they have an alien movie with aliens, like it should be like, reptilians on a plane. The sequel to Snakes on a Plane. Now, Samuel L. Jackson is the president. I'm gonna kick me some motherfucking reptile ass. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I would vote for that, The National Geographic Channel contacted 1,114 adults across the United States last month for its fanciful opinion poll ahead of its new cable television documentary series, Chasing UFOs. Okay, so this was actually one poll. I thought these were two separate stories I had here. One saying 38% of Americans believe in UFOs and stuff like that. At National Geographic, I love this, yeah. You expect to get anything about the truth pertaining to anything, much less UFOs, with Discovery Channel? I mean, not Discovery Channel. I'm sorry, I take it back. Not Discovery Channel. National Geographic Channel? Jesus. I'd probably trust Discovery Channel way before I trust National Geographic, but that's not saying much. So they're definitely prepping people for this, and I don't know if I covered this, but there was an interesting story about a month or two ago that came out as Will Smith. He was in Independence Day and now the Men in Black series. He's a Scientologist as well. He was doing his usual movie tour, going all around the world. And there was this story, I don't even know how I came across this. It was an entertainment story. And it was all about how his family got to go to the White House, of course, and meet with Barack Obama. So his son said, Dad, there's this one question I want to ask him. Can I ask him? He's like, no, whatever you do, don't ask him that question. And so they were in like the war room, the situation room, whatever, where they supposedly, tracked the phony bin Laden murder or whatever. And he's like, Dad, how much trouble would I get into if I asked that question? He was like, no, don't. And like Obama turns around, he's like, let me guess, the aliens, right? Yeah. Now everybody always wants to know about the aliens. Well, all I can tell you is, son, I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of extraterrestrials. But what I can tell you is that if it had happened, it would have happened right here in this room. What the fuck kind of shit is that? He didn't even say it out loud. He knew immediately this kid was going to ask him about extraterrestrials. And I can neither confirm or deny, but I could tell you if we would have found that it would have happened right here in this room. What the fuck is that? And at first I thought it was, then I was realized, well, wait a minute. See, now not only are they're actually using these opportunities for these promotional tours for Will Smith for these, Men in Black 3 or whatever, alien movies, to then also have the government slide their own propaganda into the entertainment articles that pertain to the publicity of these movies. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's all pervasive now. Acclimating, and I really think it's gotten to the point now where they've minimized it so much. I don't think people are going to freak out nearly as bad as they would have 50 years ago about extraterrestrials. I mean, we've just been pounded home about it. But again, that's the danger to me has never been whether or not people can handle the existence of UFOs. That's their worry, or what they say is their worry. But I don't for a second. Well, my biggest worry is that, as Wernher von Braun had warned, that the revealing of these extraterrestrials is peppered with a lie, essentially, with telling us that they're hostile when they are not, and telling us that they threaten our way of life, which in reality really means they threaten their power structure. If you ever hear them go on television and say aliens want to destroy us, our way of life, kind of like they said, they hate us for our freedoms. Al Qaeda hates us for our freedoms. The terrorists hate us for our freedoms. If they ever get on TV and tell you that aliens are going to invade us and that they are a threat to our way of life, if they use that terminology, a threat to our way of life, you should immediately take that to mean they are a threat to our power system and our power structure, and we are not going to allow that to happen for any cost, because they won't. But if these extraterrestrials were coming to say, try and help us and try to get us off their control system and their enslavement system by giving us technologies, that would be a threat to their way of life. So you bet they would fake alien transmissions, everything. I mean, hell, they're sending back a signal to the WOW signal coming pretty soon. There is a massive buildup going on, and it just makes me wonder what they're planning. But I think something's going to go down with this Millennium Falcon in the sea thing. Genetically modified grass kills cattle by producing warfare chemical cyanide. Another report of genetically modified creations taking the lives of livestock has hit the media. This time, genetically modified grass has been identified as the culprit, according to CBS News. Shockingly and quite disturbingly, the genetically modified grass actually produced toxic cyanide and sent the cattle into a life-ending fit that included painful bellowing and convulsions. The deaths have led to a federal investigation centered in central Texas, where the cattle had resided. Just east of Austin, the cows lived on an 80-acre ranch owned by Jerry Abel. Abel says that the fields were used for over 15 years for cattle grazing and hay, and that the genetically modified grass was tested previously and should have been perfect. The GM grass, however, known as Tifton 85, appears to have been producing toxic cyanide. Used as a genocidal agent in World War II by the Germans and considered to be an extremely dangerous substance internationally, it is extremely concerning that cyanide is now being produced by one harmless grass thanks to the modification process. Yeah, that tells you how great Monsanto's genetically modified shit is. Oh, yeah, it's great. It's safe. It's safe. Just because it turns cyanide don't mean it's unsafe. So at least you still got some cyanide there. It's good cyanide to kill anything you put it in front of. Fucking dolts. The 18 cattle went off to enjoy some fresh, new genetically modified grass when Abel says that they went into a fit of convulsions and shrieks. When our trainer first heard the bellowing, he thought our pregnant heifer may have been having a calf or something. But when he got down here, virtually all of the steers and heifers were on the ground. Some were already dead and others were already in convulsions. Within 15 hours of the incident, all of the cattle had died as a result of the grass suddenly producing cyanide and therefore throwing them into a lethal fit. Well, yeah, think about that. That sounds like a fucking perfect bioweapon, doesn't it? Sell everybody, and we start planting genetically modified grass seeds everywhere, right? Yeah, everybody in America will have beautiful green, evergreen lawns year-round that you'll never have to mow. Problem is, you're not going to live to see fall, motherfucker, because that shit's going to turn to fucking cyanide in your front yard and kill everybody and you and your neighborhood and everything. It's going to happen all over the place, and then everybody's going to be dead. Are we supposed to just sit idly by and think that this was not intentional? I mean, if it made it to the point to where it killed some guy's cow, don't you think it's safe to say it could make the point where it could be in your yard, where your animals and your kids play? I mean, this is not good. Within 15 hours of the incident, all the cattle had died as a result of the grasses suddenly producing cyanide and therefore throwing them into a lethal fit. According to USDA scientists, it may be the result of a mutation, the same kind of mutation that has been seen in many of Monsanto's Roundup-ready crops. What's more is the fact that many other farmers are now testing their grounds and also finding the presence of cyanide. While there is yet not a large number of reports concerning cattle deaths from cyanide, it was recently revealed that one large biotech company, Syngenta, had been covering up further animal deaths from genetically modified corn. So, yeah, crazy, crazy shit there for sure. World's first genetically modified babies are born. Now, this is great news coming on the heels of that genetically modified grass. I mean, if genetically modified grass turns to cyanide, do our genetically modified people turn into the fucking Lucifer? I mean, what the fuck's going on here? The world's first genetically modified humans have been created. It was revealed last night. The disclosure that 30 healthy babies were born after a series of experiments in the United States provoked another furious debate about ethics. So far, 2 of the babies have been tested and have been found to contain genes from 3 parents. 15 of the children were born in the past 3 years as a result of one experimental program at the Institute for Reproductive Medicine and Science of St. Barnabas in New Jersey. The babies were born to women who had problems conceiving. Extra genes from a female donor were inserted into their eggs before they were fertilized in an attempt to enable them to conceive. Genetic fingerprint tests on 2 one-year-old children confirm that they have inherited DNA from 3 adults, 2 women and 1 man. The fact that the children have inherited the extra genes and incorporated them into their germline means that they will in turn be able to pass them on to their own offspring. Altering the human germline, in effect tinkering with the very makeup of our species, is a technique shunned by the vast majority of the world's scientists. Geneticists fear that one day this method could be used to create new races of humans with extra desired characteristics such as strength or high intelligence. Yeah, Gattaca. Writing in the journal Human Reproduction, the researchers led by fertility pioneer Professor Jacques Cohen say that this is the first case of human germline genetic modification resulting in normal, healthy children. Some experts severely criticized the experiments. Lord Winston of Hammersmith Hospital in West London told the BBC yesterday regarding the treatment of the infertile There was no evidence that this technique is worth doing. I am very surprised that it was even carried out at this stage. It would certainly not be allowed in Britain. Yeah, we certainly wouldn't allow that here with the Queen. John Smeaton, National Director of the Society of the Protection of Unborn Children, said, "One has tremendous sympathy for couples who suffer infertility problems, but this seems to be a further illustration of the fact that the whole process of in vitro fertilization, means of conceiving babies, leads babies to being regarded as objects on a production line." That's what they want. Yes, sir. We can breed out those pesky personalities now and those pesky individuals. This is the future, folks. This is what they want. You should be scared of this. This is as scary of a weapon as anything you'll hear as far as a neutron bomb, a nuke, or anything else. And if you think it's not, you just don't know your fucking ass from a hole in the ground. This is a fucking weapon that it should be feared more than any other weapon around. Why? Because they have the ability to, they can drop the neutron bomb on all of us tomorrow, folks, and come in with a dust buster and just dust it all up, because it only kills organic living things. And supplant the entire population with their brand new genetically modified population, which has all the traits and characteristics that they want and has all the other ones left out. That's their master plan. That's what they want. Because as it stands now, there are too many people that slip through the cracks that cause problems for them. And if they can get all born people on this planet to go through this scrutinized process where certain things, attributes are enhanced and others are brought down, they will effectively weed out bad personalities, troubled personalities, anti-social behavior, everything else that is a problem to the power structure. This is as dangerous of a weapon in the hands of these people than anything else you can think of. The desperate search for a 23-year-old Belgian hiker missing in Nepal for 10 days came to a gruesome end when her decapitated body was found in the Himalayan mountains. Debbie Mavo was badly decomposed, but investigators couldn't miss the sight of her head 13 inches away from her body, discovered near the hiking trail in the Langfang National Park. She is only in the latest of string of assaults and disappearances of young women hiking along the rugged mountains of the Chinese border. Yeah, that's right in the Himalaya area. That's where people have seen UFO bases and seen entrances to Inner Earth, Shambhala, and that whole thing. And it seems that anytime anybody, again, a lot of young girls have found out about this kind of stuff from reading, and they read about Nepal, and young girls, they're into Nepal, and they think it's, magical, and they want to go there, and they don't realize that they cut your fucking head off over there if you go walking around and you get too close to something. Even if you're not even looking for it, you don't even know it's there. You could just be hiking, and you get close to something you don't even know was there, maybe some entrance or something they're protected, they cut your fucking head off, man. This is a she's a young girl, man. It's sad to hear her. But they got a Chinese fucking Dalai Lama that runs around. Everybody thinks is real. It's sickening. Sickening to see people get bought into that. And people just don't want to hear it either. They do not want to hear the truth. They do not want to hear that guy's not the real Panchen Lama, because he isn't. Marijuana changes from Nazis to peace-loving hippies. Twin sisters who sparked outrage with pop band named after gas used on Jews claim they've grown up. So now these girls who they had songs about Aryans and they had these little Hitler shirts, these little blondies, and now they're saying they got into smoking pot. Now they don't hate Jews anymore, and they're not Nazis. This is just fucking hilarious. At the age of 11, blonde-haired, blue-eyed twins Lamb and Lynx Gade formed a band and saw themselves as the new faces of pop music. But instead, the girls from Bakersfield, California would soon be labeled the new faces of hate. Not surprising when you consider the group they created in 2003 was a neo-Nazi outfit called Prussian Blue. named after a byproduct of the poison used to gas millions of Jews in the Holocaust at the suggestion of white nationalist leader William Pierce. Oh, that's great. Oh, William Pierce. So these girls called themselves this at the suggestion of William Luther Pierce, author of the Turner Diaries. And I've exposed his connections in the Secret Right Volume 2. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, that tells you right. That tells you exactly what this is. Now, however, at the age of 20, the twins have radically transformed themselves from hate-spouting extremists to peace-loving hippies. And the reason for their change? Marijuana. The girls who once wore smiley-face Hitler T-shirts both now have medical marijuana cards, consider themselves healers, and say they're pretty liberal now. Lynx was diagnosed with cancer during her freshman year of high school when doctors removed a tumor from her shoulder. She was prescribed OxyContin and morphine to deal with the pain. She also suffers from a rare condition called cyclic vomiting syndrome. About 2 years ago, she began smoking to ease withdrawal symptoms and nausea. And I have to say, marijuana saved my life. She said, I'd probably be dead if I didn't have it. Well, there you go, folks. You know, you want to fix the Nazi problem? Give them some weed. That's the problem with most of these, these right-wing Nazi, you ever seen American History X? Weed is for niggers. That's what they believe. And so, these right-wingers, these neo-Nazis and skinheads and shit, they don't smoke marijuana because they think it's for blacks. And that was a line Ed Norton said in the movie, by the way. That wasn't me saying that. That was from the movie. Yeah, get mad at Ed Norton for saying it, not me. It's a line from a movie. But that's the mindset. So here it is. It's proven. If you want to get rid of the neo-Nazi hate mongers, you're going to have to figure out a way to get these guys baked. Make sure, just make them some little, smiley face Hitler Nazi cookies when you're done, and they'll munch down on them and it'll be all good. Unbelievable stuff. An injection of genes that makes antibodies against nicotine could help millions of smokers kick the habit, scientists believe. Just one jab could provide lifelong protection against nicotine cravings, and it could eventually be used to vaccinate children to help them from ever getting hooked. The genetic vaccine has so far been tested only on mice, but research involving people could begin in as little as 2 years. The jab contains genes programmed to make antibodies that neutralize nicotine before it reaches the brain, whether it would normally trigger the pleasurable feelings that underlie the addiction. Right. So let's just fool you full of these chemicals that shut off parts of your brain, right? Let's just do away with willpower and all these things. You don't have to get dressed up, and there's no tipping. McDonald's ad from 1976 tries to target black customers. Back in the 70s, someone at McDonald's headquarters clearly thought that this advertisement would appeal to groovy African Americans who wanted to get down with good food. But the copywriter, possibly white and with a jive-talking fixation, didn't quite hit the mark with a newly coined term, dinner timin' or any timin', neither of which caught on. Showing a smiling black family gathered around a table at the fast food chain, the ad also proclaims, you don't have to get dressed up. There's no tipping. That's, why? Because black folks don't like to tip? They just don't like to tip. It's just how it is. With a poster resurfaced on web forum BuzzFeed recently, it sparked a debate over the possible racist undertones of the 1976 campaign. Inherent in the message is the idea that black Americans of the time were less likely to eat out at a smart restaurant, and it also plays on a working class stereotype that could equally apply to Caucasians. Among the comments appearing on debate forums from Twitter to FARC was this from Mr. Pike. McDonald's thought talking down to African Americans would score them points. Hell, Obama does it all the time. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously, dinner timing or any timing. You don't have to get dressed up, and you don't have to tip. Jeez Louise, man. I mean, Really? That's just ridiculous. It's just in your face, isn't it? I mean, Mick Eugenics. That's really what it is. McGenics. Get your McGenics griddle sandwich right now with some death fries. Humanity may have originated in the woods. The immediate ancestor of the human lineage may have lived off a woodland diet of leaves, fruits, and bark instead of a menu based on the open savanna, as other extinct relatives of humanity did, researchers say. Food was a major environmental force that shaped the human lineage, perhaps influencing key moments such as when human ancestors started walking upright. And these new findings help reveal the complex evolutionary paths that ancestors took in response to the world around them. The findings are based off of fossils of the extinct hominin Australopithecus that were accidentally discovered in 2008 by the 9-year-old son of a scientist in the remains of a cave in South Africa. The fossils were 2 million years old. A hominin in the lineage that includes humans and their relatives after they split from those of chimpanzees. Australopithecus means southern ape, and is in a group that includes the iconic fossil Lucy, while Sadeba means wellspring in the South African language Sotho. This hominin's mix of human and primitive traits has made a strong case for it being the immediate ancestor of human lineage. Chimpanzees, humans' closest living relatives, prefer fruits and leaves even when grasses are abundant. By contrast, extinct species of humans and Australopithecus apparently prefer diets richer in grasses or grass-eating animals. Scientists can gauge what our ancestor relative might have eaten by looking at their teeth, particularly the marks and remnants left on them by food. They also can look at the carbon isotopes making up fossils. The grasses that dominate the savannas engage a kind of photosynthesis that involves both normal carbon-12 and heavier carbon-13, while trees and shrubs rely on a kind of photosynthesis that prefers carbon-12. By analyzing 2 fossil specimens, researchers found that the diet of Owl Sadeba apparently differed substantially from those of most other extinct species of hominin studied to date. Again, there's a huge gap there, a huge evolutionary gap that is unaccounted for between that and us. And in my opinion, can only be explained from genetic tinkering. Well, that's all the news we have for tonight. We're going to take a break, come back, and get into our continued series of reading for you here tonight on the show. Looking forward to getting more back into that tonight, that's for sure. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. And we'll come back after this musical interlude and get into more for you here tonight. My name is Josh Reeves. I am your host. Stay with us. All right, back here with you on The Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We're going to be getting into Chapter 35 for you here tonight, The Mystery in the Sphere, The Lost Worlds of Ancient America. And let's go ahead and get it out of my system now. Yes, we indeed, just as David Hatcher-Children says in his video, we're going to be talking about the giant stone balls. Giant black balls. Yes, giant black balls. And nobody knows who made. And subsequently, they were found in the same area. They found some giant heads as well. So we get into that for you here. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. You can actually just go to a search engine, type Josh Reeves in. It'll be the first website that comes up. There at the website, the newly designed website, you'll find a shipping banner on the right-hand side of the page that says June 2012 operating costs. And about 800 to go by Friday. $50 or more donations going to get you in the drawing. One of 2 drawings that we'll be holding Friday night on the show for 2 separate prizes. And also, you can, any donation made towards my film, if you will use the donate button down there that's underneath the Kickstarter widget, any donation, $50 or more from that as well, before midnight Thursday night, will also get you into the drawing. So whether you donate to the operating cost, whether you donate to the film cost this week for midnight Thursday night, that's going to get you to enter to win one of the two prizes we're going to be giving away on Friday night. So Global Reality All-Stars is our new thing we're doing, $50 or more donation, and you get your name in the drawing at the end of the month, and we'll be giving away a prize. We're working on having some other, up in the ante, and have some other additional prizes eventually. Just starting out like this right now, but it's going to get bigger and better and give us a lot more opportunity to get more support. So please support our work if you can. We have to pay the operating costs, and we have to have all that in by no later than Friday. So please help us out there so we can continue. We can't continue and would be up shit creek if we didn't meet our goal for the month. And that only happens from you, our listeners out there. And I know there's a lot of you out there, but there's a lot of you out there that aren't donating and supporting our work at all. And we need more of you, please, to help this out. Otherwise, none of this is going to get done. And I have too much important work to not get. I mean, I try not to talk about this all the time on the show, but sometimes I just have to. I'm frustrated as shit by the fact that there's so much interest in my work and interest in this film, but nobody wants to put up any money to help make it become a reality. They just expect somebody else to do it. I mean, I look at how many likes, how many times it's been reposted, and I've seen like 20 reposts a day of this thing, and then yet we still have this, the same pledges. The pledges don't go up at all. So I'm boggled. I don't know what to do. Well, hopefully, hopefully this Kickstarter thing works, because I mean, it's pretty much the last hurrah if it doesn't. Otherwise, because I can't, if I don't have a budget, folks, I can't travel to go to the places I have to go travel to shoot and get footage of, which is what I've been waiting to do. I have to go out of state and have travel expenses, have to pay all this stuff, and I don't have any other way to do that. All films need to have budgets, and, our budget is not that much. Not for what the return is going to be if we get this done. The creation of Central America's monumental stone balls by pre-modern people is, in itself, a technological feat of the highest order. But if their suspected function, as posited by the following article, is correct, they could only have been produced by a society in at least some respects scientifically superior to our own. Beginning in the mid-1930s, soon after United Fruit Company workers began clearing hundreds of acres in the hereto unexplored Costa Rican jungle, they stumbled over a strange, dark shape curving out of the ground. Within minutes, their bulldozers excavated a 16-ton ball, 6.5 feet in diameter. Its black, smooth, perfectly round surface was unadorned by inscriptions, illustrations, or marks of any kind. Through the first half of the next decade, an estimated 330 similar stone spheres came to light. Treasure hunters blasted dozens in half with dynamite caps, hoping that gold might be found inside. Instead, the broken spheres revealed only that they were solid rock through to the core. They range in size from the first specimen discovered down to samples the size of a grapefruit, and mostly made of gabbro, a coarse-grained equivalent of basalt. Others were sculpted from sedimentary stone, andesite, quartz, feldspar-rich volcanic rock, about 1 dozen from shell-rich limestone, and another dozen from sandstone granite. Well, that's interesting, because a lot of those are same materials used in the rock wall. By the way, I wanted to mention this. My brother, Jake, he was looking at Google Earth and looking for some stuff around Rockwall. And he said, man, I found this thing, blah, blah. He was kind of telling me where it was at. And I was like, oh, man. And he was like, what? And I was like, well, the place you're describing, I know exactly where he was describing, where he was going to show me even before he said it. And the area that he was describing, this actually, back before it was as grown up as it is back there, back in the day, me and my dad used to go out in this area and shoot skeet, shoot the guns and shit like that. And it's right next to the East Fork of the Trinity River. And, of course, East Fork of the Trinity River is where there's an underground tunnel that goes from the old Rockwall Courthouse down to the river. And that's right on the land, the very exact land where they found the 2.5-ton garnet stone with the hieroglyphs on it there in Rockwall that has disappeared. And my brother showed me this and found this, and I was able to go back and find it again. And what's crazy, when I brought it up on my Google Earth, I realized that there's right across the river from it, directly across, there's like a little rock outcropping. And I had found that and marked that, but for some reason I hadn't seen this other thing. But it's clearly, ladies and gentlemen, clearly a slate rock roof. A giant piece of slate rock. You can see that it's blue from the Landsat images. And it's right where the original settlement of Rockwall was, right exactly where the 2.5-ton garnet stone was found. And it matches the description of two other slate rock walls that were cracked. One in a small town of Heath, which is right next to Rockwall, where supposedly they found the giant skeletons at. And the other was where Lake Ray Hubbard now is in Rockwall, where the guy had cracked the slate rock roof with his tractor as they were digging out the lake, and then his tractor fell in there, not once but twice, and they wouldn't let him retrieve it. So I have found, I know right where this is, too. It's 5 minutes from where I used to live, from where I grew up at, 5 minutes from where my parents live. And I think I'd probably need a 4-wheel drive to get down there, and depending on if it was muddy or not. Right now it's so dry, maybe not, but I'm just on fire. I want to get down there and check this out so bad, because you can see it from the images, man. It's a giant. I believe that I have found, or that we have found. My brother helped me find it, but I had already found the same spot right across from it. I believe this to be possibly another one of these slate rock roof that with something in it to the bottom of it. And I want to get out there and get some video and get some pictures of this, because it matches the description. It also matches the description of one they found in Ohio that had a bunch of giant skeletons in it. And it's right on the bank of the East Fork of the Trinity River, very close to where they found the 2.5, right in the exact spot where they found the 2.5-ton stone with hieroglyphs. So there's something there. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Known locally as Las Bolas, they are very nearly perfect in roundness, varying no more than 2 inches in diameter. More often, that variation is far lower, especially among the largest of their kind. Florida's Dr. Tim McGinnis of the Society of American Archaeology points out, the maximum circumference error in one 6-foot 7-inch diameter sphere is only 0.5 inch, or 0.2%, and he goes on to quote from another researcher, the best spheres are perhaps the finest examples of precision stone carving in the ancient world. The balls are so plentiful throughout the Dyquist Delta region, covering the southern half of Costa Rica, that most of them have been set up as lawn ornaments at private homes or decorative banks and business establishments. A few are on display at the National Museum in San Jose. Others appear in Papagayo on the Nicoya Peninsula, more than 190 miles north of the Dyquist Delta. None anywhere show signs of ever having been engraved, incised, painted, or decorated in any way. McGinnis believes at least 2 have uncharacteristic carvings, but what he takes for celestial maps more resemble natural accretion. During the late 20th century, writers Ivar Zamp and George Erickson tried to show that Costa Rica's lithic mystery was disclosed in its identity as a navigational aid for Bronze Age seafarers from the ancient Old World. Their hypothesis was rendered fundamentally untenable by a globe's self-evident unsuitability as a marker. Moreover, so far as is known, no stone orbs have been discovered near shore where they might have been otherwise seen by sailors. On the contrary, the vast majority of them were deliberately buried much further inland in the depths of the jungle, a location and condition that likewise makes their utility as star charts unlikely to the extreme. 1 or 2 petrospheres have been found placed on mounted cobbled platforms, and a few more were configured into triangular sets of 3, spaced 88 feet apart, although many, maybe most, were deliberately buried, perhaps to preserve them against the deterioration of rain and alternating temperature extremes that have wreaked havoc on Las Bolas since their excavation and exposure to the elements. They were often grouped with whatever general system or alignment mode that arranged them was lost when most were carried away from their original positions. The largest assembly known contained at least 45 balls. 45 balls! The Costa Rican versions are the largest of their kind, although others occur in Zacualo in the Guatemalan highlands, where the largest, 15.5 inches across, was extracted from an early classic Maya strata, AD 200 to 600. Several older Veracruz petrospheres, at least one with a diameter of 3 feet, have been recovered from Mexican sites associated with the Olmec, America's earliest known civilizers, going back to 1500 BC, although some researchers place their beginnings not without cogent reasons to around the turn of the 4th millennium BC. Olmec artifacts are displayed in the Garden of Mexico City's Museo Nacional de Anthropologia. Why are you apologizing for your antroness? Anthropologia. A single monumental ball has been reported atop a prominent cliff on a deserted islet off the coast of Haiti. And the Troy Museum in Canakkale, west coastal Turkey, features a line of similar gray granite spheres, each about 2 feet across. What relationship, if any, these various collections may have to each other is not known, but pre-modern stone spheres do not appear at any other locations. Mainstream archaeologists assumed the Costa Rica specimens were made by members of the Aguas Buenas and/or the Diquas cultures because artifacts from either have been found in the orb's immediate vicinity. This form of inferential relationship dates creation of the Las Bolas from 200 BC to AD 1500, with emphasis on the 8th to 15th centuries, due to a predominance of Diquas materials, particularly pottery shards recovered from around the stone balls. However, as McGinnis quotes another investigator, one very disturbing mystery emerges in examining the Diquas culture. The superb stone carving skill necessary for the creation of the spheres was not applied to any other object. Indeed, none of the many hundreds of preserved tools employed by the Aguas Buenas or Diquas were designed to work in stone. They were used exclusively for far more menial tasks, such as scaling fish, stripping bark, or scraping deer hide. These primitive elements and implements never evolved during the 1700 years of Aguas Buenas Diquas existence, nor have any pre-Columbian stoneworking tools been found throughout the region. An abundance of surviving Aguas Buenas Diquas artifactual evidence reveals a materially unsophisticated society relative to contemporaneous Maya civilization, which flourished alongside in Costa Rica. Nor did the Aguas Buenas Diquas build or operate. Why do you have to have a fucking long-ass name like that? Just call yourselves the ABDs. I don't want to have to say Aguas Buenas Diquas over and over and over again. Jesus Christ, drive me fucking nuts. Nor did the ABDs build or operate more than primitive watercraft or mostly riverine fishery. Yet petrospheres have been found at several offshore islands, such as the Isla del Cano and the Isla del Coco, which lies 330 miles southwest of the Pacific mainland. Transporting 15-ton, 6-foot-wide globes in wood dugouts or reed skiffs over hundreds of miles of open ocean does not seem likely. Something more in the way of a real seagoing cargo-carrying ship would have been required. Moreover, the granite from which many of the balls were made was not available locally, but had to have been transported from the other side of lofty mountain peaks some 11 miles away. Everything known about the ABDs suggests that they never engaged in the kind of social cooperation necessary to haul what amounted to many thousands of tons of rock over challenging terrain, nor that they ever, in fact, did so. Smaller stone balls, 10 inches to 2 feet across, have been removed from some native burial mounds, and a pre-Columbian cemetery was laid out around a group of spheres implying their mortuary significance. But they appear to have been thus revered by the Indians after inheriting them from a former people. Indeed, concluding that the ABDs were the sculptors based only on observation that these indigenous peoples dwelled in the same area with the spheres is tantamount to assuming that a Model T Ford parked at an Apache reservation must also have been built by local Indians. But if so, who actually made the stone balls, and when and how and why? Their creators must have been in possession of a higher culture beyond anything known to the ABDs or logically deduced from the petrospheres at Kano and Coco, objects that could have only been carried to these islands by an ocean-going vessel, something neither Indian group possessed. So, too, their precision craftsmanship bespeaks a sophisticated civilization, the identity of which cannot be identified with any known culture throughout the ancient world. Consequently, their age likewise cannot be determined. McGinn is trying to show that Dequist workers could have cut the wooden template of a semicircle within which to sculpt a rock boulder to size, but results of his experiment were crudely unimpressive, and nothing exists to indicate that the natives ever employed such a method. Among all the many thousands of illustrated pottery shards from pre-Columbian Middle America, not one of them so much as alludes to a petrosphere or the wood template supposedly used to create it. For a better application of Costa Rica's prehistoric achievement, try asking a modern stonecutter to sculpt the circumference of a 15-ton solid granite globe within a 0.2% margin of error. He would probably need something more than a wood template and the kind of tools used by the Dequist natives to scale fish. As such, no physical evidence exists, including the stone balls themselves, that could tell us anything about them. As Thomas Mann observed, distance in a straight line has no mystery. The mystery is in the sphere. If the who, when, and how of the great globes utterly escapes us, trying to answer the why may broach conclusions conventional scholars refuse to consider. Putting aside all their archaeological references, they do not share some common denominators. They all contain veins of quartz and are located in one of the they're located in one of the world's most seismically active areas. Far to the south along the mountain ridge tops of Peru and Bolivia, a natural phenomenon known as the Andes glow sometimes flits in waves of azure light immediately prior to the onset of major earthquakes. Moving tectonic plates squeeze the mountain's quartz-rich granite to generate a piezoelectrical discharge composed of negatively charged ions that radiate blue light and affect geologists suspect that may release and dissipate at least some seismic energy. Perhaps a similar correlation was made centuries or millennia ago by Andes glow observers who endeavored to reproduce it in quartz-banded balls, the spherical shape of which would have been evenly diffused tectonic pressure. When thus charged, the stone orbs would have been haloed with the Andes glow effect. If so, then the El Gran Moxo lamp and the radiant rock of Yolo, witnessed respectively by Barco Sintera and Harold Wilkins, may have been the same kind of luminous petrospheres found in Costa Rica. In any case, counterparts in Brazil and Peru might be explained by a prehistoric harnessing of piezoelectricity. Now that's interesting. A prehistoric harnessing of piezoelectricity. Just as we've seen in the rock wall and just as we've seen in the Serpent Mound in Ohio. Now, that's highly interesting because that's what I've been on to. Somebody prehistorically was harnessing piezoelectrical energy. And when these guys, to me, sound like the same builders, that it tells you right there, yeah, they knew how to gain energy from rocks. Seeding the stone orbs throughout the soil of Costa Rica might have been aimed at mitigating the worst effects of that country's frequent earthquakes by highly advanced civilizers long since lost to time. Until other investigators can offer better evidence to the contrary, Las Bolas stand as mute testimony to the monumental greatness of a vanished people. So that's the end of chapter 35. That's also the end of part 4 of the book. Part 3 of the book. We're now beginning part 4 of the book, foreigners in prehistoric America. Now, this I am ready for, because this sounds like this is going to further get into what I've been talking about. This is going to get into some of the genetics of what I've been discussing about these ancient people from the Middle East, Mesopotamia, and Europe, and whatever else that were here long ago. So I'd like to get into at least, I don't know how long this chapter is going to be. Let me look. Yeah, that's not very long. I mean, at least get into some of it, if not all of it. Chapter 36, Genetics Rewrites American History Textbooks. The false paradigms of establishment archaeology are based on the unswerving conviction that what is official is incontestable. Ain't that the truth? But this intellectual snobbery is being taken down a peg by the revelations of hard sciences over which academia's living fossils fortunately exercise no control. When Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, 1752 to 1840, first used the term Caucasian in 1795 to describe the white population of Europe, he could scarcely imagine the epic story about to unfold. He was a German physician, physiologist, and anthropologist, among the first scientists to study mankind as an aspect of natural history, and whose teachings in comparative anatomy were applied to the classification of human races. Blumenbach adopted the term Caucasian from native inhabitants of the Caucasus Mountains in southern Europe, a race he believed to be the most beautiful and vigorous on earth. His arguments are no longer fashionable, but there was much more to the story of ancient Caucasians than Blumenbach or anyone else of his time could have imagined. For centuries, there have been reports of ancient Caucasoid peoples thriving in remote corners of the world and then vanishing mysteriously from history. These accounts speak of white, red-haired giants and yellow-haired barbarians in countries now almost exclusively populated by non-Caucasian peoples. In time, modern archaeologists found traces of their existence. Millennia-old corpses found preserved in desert sands or frigid glaciers would ultimately be discovered. In addition to such physical remains, a wealth of historical and mythological evidence, both in written form and oral tradition, spoke of lost civilizations consisting of fair-skinned gods and light-eyed benefactors who helped establish new cultures. According to numerous Native American accounts, at the dawn of their society, they were visited by a great white god who arrived from a faraway land across the sea. He established their new mode of life, then departed, promising to return someday. The discovery of light-skinned mummies in New Guinea and New Zealand, and persistent references to godlike light-skinned peoples inhabiting a now sunken landmass in the Pacific Ocean, raised some interesting possibilities of just such a primordial race. But the presence of lost Caucasian peoples in the Americas is but the capstone to a much broader reality. Today there exists an overwhelming body of evidence suggesting a now lost population of Caucasians. The last decades of the 20th century saw a revolution in our understanding of the depth and magnitude of prehistoric Caucasian migration and influence. In 1959, for example, hard physical evidence of primitive Proto-Caucasoid peoples in the Americas during prehistory began to surface. Archaeologists digging at Santa Rosa Island off the California coast unearthed a number of skeletal remains dating back to 10,000 BC with apparent Caucasian features. During the 16th century, as Spanish explorer Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo skimmed the same coastline, he found that native Chumash Indians possessed physical attributes that set them apart from the rest of the Channel Island Indians. He reported that the women had fine forms, beautiful eyes, and a modest demeanor, and their children were white, with light hair and ruddy cheeks. Also in the New World, the 1990s saw the discovery of the most controversial archaeological find in North American history, Kennewick Man. Kennewick Man, a 9,000-year-old Native American with clearly Caucasian, not Mongoloid traits. Forensic reconstructions of the recovered skull show a face akin to Patrick Stewart, the actor who portrayed Captain Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek, the next generation. Additional discoveries throughout the Americas hinted at primordial Caucasoid population that roamed freely across much of the Western Hemisphere. Kennewick Man. Such discoveries by hard science were not confined to the Americas alone. In the late 1980s, Chinese archaeologists unearthed hundreds of Caucasian mummies along the western frontier of China. Similar ancient corpses located in Mongolia, Siberia, and Central Asia were also discovered. These mummies date back to at least 3,500 BC, and still others appear to be far older, circa 5,000 to 4,000 BC. Not only did they belong to Chinese prehistory, they showed no evidence of Asian ethnicity. That's just describing that. The corpses have been dressed and interred in Western-style clothing and closely resembled Europeans. Later, carbon-14 dating established their original age, placing them at 3,500 years before the advent of the Han Dynasty, 206 BC to 220 AD. They are related to an Indo-European-speaking group of Caucasians known as Tocharians. These prehistoric Chinese remains were unknown to much of the outside world until a security break led to their announcement in 1994. In March 2010, the archaeological community was stunned by the discovery of yet another Caucasian skeleton, this time in Mongolia. DNA extracted from this individual's bones confirmed a direct genetic link to the West. In essence, these remains were clearly European, if not Western Eurasian. This time, however, the ancient corpse was not as old, dating to the 1st century AD. The period of prehistoric Western arrival or habitation in China and East Asia is continually being pushed backward in time to an even earlier date. The origins of some Caucasian mummies trace back to some 6,000 years ago. Some are even older. But the Mongolian individual was apparently held in high regard by his peers as a major player in the Zhangel Empire, a multi-ethnic melting pot of former Eurasian nomads who also challenged Han Dynasty supremacy. This ancient conglomeration of foreign tongues and non-Mongoloid races no doubt consisted of many Indo-European speaking people. During 2007, Peruvian investigators found literally dozens of Caucasian mummies in a vaulted tomb buried 82 feet beneath the forest floor of the Amazon jungle. These belong to a pre-Inca race known as the Chachapoyas, or the Cloud People. Their discovery complemented 16th century Spanish reports of strange white Indians with beards in the same region. Even the giant statues of Easter Island, 2,180 miles off the Chilean coast, bear witness to the arrival and passage of an ancient Caucasoid race. In 1915, British archaeologist Catherine Routledge learned from a native islander the true nature of the long ears, men who came from far away in ships. They saw they had pink cheeks, and they said they were gods. The last real Ariki, or chief, was said to be quite white. White like me, I innocently asked. You, they said, you are red, the color in European cheeks. Red is the term generally applied by Eastern Islanders to Europeans. And Yurakiku is often translated red-haired. Indeed, the towering statues obviously displayed something other than Polynesian physiology. And if the fine oval faces, the large eyes, the short upper lip, and the thin, often Apollo's bow lips are any guide to race, they indicate a Caucasoid race. Anthropologists are baffled by the apparent presence of Caucasoid peoples in the prehistoric Pacific. Genetic testing conducted during the 1990s showed traces of Basque DNA in people in Rapa Nui and Greater Polynesia. These age-old oral traditions are not only being underscored by the latest strides being made in genetic research, but combining to show that the prehistory of America is far richer in its human background than previously suspected. So that's the end of Chapter 36. We'll pick up with Chapter 37 next time. Anasazi chocolate. Oh, shit. So we're going to get into the Anasazi Indians in their addiction to the cocaine. That should be a good read. You know, ancient people who had aliens as gods getting into, you know, having a coke party. That's always enjoyable, isn't it? TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. Got to get the bills paid and get our goal met. So, again, if you want to get in for the All-Star drawing Friday night, got to get those donations in before midnight on Thursday night. Please do so and help us out so we can stay alive and continue to kick butt and expose this stuff. I love that last chapter, man. That's right on board with where I'm at right now. So I need to go look some of those things up in that chapter and get on another research tear. So please help us out. Support us if you can. TheGlobalReality.com. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time. You guys have a great one. Take care.